Alright, what's going on, everyone? Today I kind of wanted to go over, I guess, the Culling Games, a lot of what we've learned in it, a lot of what's going in, get everyone caught up to speed if you haven't seen it, and give you kind of like a rundown of what we know, you know. And then there's also, so this is a video I was going to do like way later when we were fully done with this arc, but I actually don't think we're going to be done with it for a while, and I think there's just so much to talk about. If I wait that long, we're going to be sitting on like an hour and a half video. So instead of doing that to you guys, I just wanted to go over this, where we are now. Now, the newest chapter just came out, so spoilers for anybody who isn't like fully caught up, doesn't know, where we're at. But, just to put this out quickly, for those that don't know, with the Culling Games, I don't want to go through all of the rules, spend like 15 minutes on that. Just know that that our heroes are working on this, because obviously it's a big problem. So they're working on getting the situation under control, especially Yuda. Megami is there because he is, protecting his sister who got kind of caught up in all this nonsense. And we're actually seeing some weird developments with her, but we'll go over that later. And Yuji's more or less along for the ride, partially because, he wants to help Megami, he wants to, save people like he normally does, probably has a little bit to do with the guilt of, like, what Sukuna did during Shibuya, but, it's a side note. Now, to start, they're all separated right now. Yuji's off doing his own thing, Megami is, and Yuda is. Even further than that, Maki is still pretty much unaccounted for since she took out the Zenin clan. There's no teams going on right now. Even Nobara, she's very much alive, and I won't hear differently. She hasn't really made an appearance in a long time, so everyone is pretty much on their own, and this is a really cool thing to see because we're seeing all these characters are strong enough to work independently. If you guys remember, Megami, Yuji, and Nobara could not together handle one finger bearer. Like, they couldn't do it. While they were working together, and now they're able to independently handle special grades and even golden age sorcerers. So it's been crazy to have that realization that our characters have come so far. And then even making this plan. So their plan for the Culling Games is to obviously, get Megami's sister out, counter whatever Kenjaku's doing, and this arc is called Perfect Preparation, because they're preparing for whatever he's got planned, whatever happens in the Culling Games, and they have done this without the assistance of, Gojo, without, any of the higher-ups or elders, influencing them. In fact, they are being opposed by, the higher-ups and the elders, and, at least two of them have execution orders for different reasons, so yeah, it's crazy that these guys are working on their own. It's great character development for all of them. Good, story progression. These guys can work by themselves now. Now, that being said, and just like as a side note, Gojo was correct when he said that he was confident in his pupils handling everything while he was sealed. That's the last thing we saw him say, which he's been proven right about. And, let's not even talk about the fact that, like, these students basically are doing all this by themselves. The higher ups, Mei, they're doing about fuck all to fix the situation and whatever Kenjaku's doing, but whatever, we won't talk about that. Now, first, let's go over Megami. Let's just get that out of the way. I know Megami's somewhat popular. We already went over, he's participating in doing a lot of this to save his sister. There's other motivations, releasing Gojo is obviously on his mind, it's on his agenda, helping everyone else out and countering Kenjaku, because, he's one of the few people who's, able to do this. But one big thing we've seen out of Megami in this, he's demonstrating, crazy growth, crazy abilities throughout all this, like his shadow stalk, where he's coming out of people's shadows and just like staying there in stealth mode. Like, he is becoming Toji too. I love this because he is becoming like so much colder, so much more callous. Like, he's taking on, so he's showing a lot of his I guess, genetic code, because he's obviously Toji's son, and, these little stealthy assassin abilities are cool, but him having that more cold nature and just being, just ready to kill these people for being in his way, that is definitely a Toji thing, and I think Megami showing that is really cool, because his character and his abilities, You know, you mix Killer Instinct with, you know, some of these broken abilities on top of his like Shikamaru level intelligence. Yeah, he's gonna be broken by the end of the series. If he's not dead, which I'm really hoping does not happen. On top of that, obviously, we've seen some crazy hand-to-hand fighting with him, which we didn't really know he had. He's got, like, insane strength, as we saw when he was, like, able to withstand the weight of cars and, like, houses being dropped and him having to, like, bear the weight of that. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Obviously, his domain expansion has progressed like crazy. He's taken out Golden Age, you know, sorcerers and stuff in the Culling Games with it. This thing is just crazy. I love that Megami's actually progressing so much, because I've always thought he was overpowered, or he had overpowered abilities, and that, you know, he just needs to kind of adapt to them. Further to this, Megami seems to be doing this just kind of on his own, just thinking through these things, if not on the spot, just thinking about them between his fights, because nobody's training him to do this. As far as we know, Gojo's trained him twice, and that's it. Like, he's not getting trained by, you know, really the Zenin clan, aside from Maki, in, like, you know, hand-to-hand combat and some basic tools. He's definitely not getting trained by the Fushiguro or, you know, Toji, because Toji's dead. So he's probably figuring out all this stuff on his own, which, it's crazy that Megami's that good. Now, from here, he seems comfortable, you know, fighting special grades, and like I said, the Golden Age sorcerers. He likely would have, he probably would have been a problem for, like, Naoya at this point, Chozo too, for sure. Just based on what we're seeing now, the scaling, the kind of abilities he has, he hard counters Naoya pretty badly. Chozo's kind of a different issue. I think Chozo would be much harder, because Naoya's real threat is just speed. He doesn't have, like, crazy hacks or anything that make it too much harder on Megami. Even if you were to stop Megami for a little bit, like, his Shikigami kind of make this a moot point on top of, like, his domain expansion. Like, these are like hard counters to most of what Naoya does. Now, Chozo, on the other hand, is a different issue, but this is a story for a different video. However, I do want to say, if Naoya would have found Megami, you know, right after Shibuya, Naoya would have likely won. I do want that on record. Naoya probably would have won that fight and killed Megami right there. I don't want people to get the wrong impression here. So next we want to move on to Yuda, and Yuda's getting crazy shine, and I love that because I love Yuda, right? And he's, you know, he's saving people. He gets to do some, like, really cool stuff. He's, like, one-shotting, like, higher level spirits and whatnot. Supposedly he took out one of the strongest cursed users in the game right now. And now, I mean, obviously he took out the cockroach. I mean, and here's the weird thing. He's taking out very, very powerful opponents without Rika. And a lot of people, I haven't seen anyone really talk about this. He, with his own abilities, for the most part, not using any copied curse techniques or anything like that, he's literally taking his sword and just whooping on him. Hand to hand, nothing but hands, no extra, like, Rika or, like, help from anybody. This man is soloing his region of the Culling Games, which is crazy to me. Obviously he took out the cockroach. The only time he uses really cursed energy is reverse curse technique, and he uses it in such a crazy way to blow the thing's head off that it further solidifies Yuda as probably the first or second best user of reverse curse technique. Also, we got more statements saying that Yuda is second only to Gojo in terms of strange abilities. Now, I've had a lot of people, like, ask me about this, and there is one guy who was pretty combative with me, saying, like, you know, this means that he is in fact second only to Gojo if we're scaling him or in fights and stuff. So here's the thing, right? When you say something like this, when you say that he is second only to Gojo, essentially in hacks, in a verse that scales off your hacks, yes, you are second to that person in scaling. I feel like I shouldn't have to, like, point that out, but some people do not understand that. JJK is a super hacksy verse that's most of the scaling of this. Like, if your hacks are second to none, you are second to none. Like, there's very few exceptions. The only two really that you'd be able to name would be essentially Maki and Toji, and even in those cases, they are hacks. It's not the fact that they're like Rock Lee or anything, where they are just raw physicality. They're like born with just like superhuman physicality. They're born with something called heavenly restriction, which brings out this crazy physicality. It's not like they were born with steel muscles or anything like that. They needed a hacks called heavenly restriction. So I want to clear that up. I hate that I have to bring that up, because I know for a fact most of you guys who do watch these videos, you guys are super knowledgeable and I don't have to explain it, but there's like maybe 1/5, like 20% of my audience that will hound me about this, get in my DMs, like, no, just let me clear that up for y'all right now. All right, now back on the good stuff here. So this is interesting because with the Rika thing, like, obviously he's powerful on his own. I also think we're gonna get an explanation finally for why he still has Rika. And I mean, I have my own theories. I know a lot of people out there do. I think it's gonna be like a minor side note. If I really had to guess, just off the top of my head, I actually think that Rika never left. I think what we saw at the end of JJK 0 is basically him getting Rika under control, and him having that control over her means that she only appears when he wills it, when he calls upon her. And since he had not called upon her at that very moment, then she's like off chilling in she's off chilling in Shikigami realm or whatever. Now, from there, again, we know that Yuda is developing like a different kind of personality than what we saw in Zero. Like, obviously, and I covered this in my end of JJK video, he's developing like a much more confident and a much more aloof facade. Mostly to comfort a lot of the people that he's saving, which is a pretty heroic kind of trait, and I really love seeing that in someone like Yuda, because it shows great character development, that he's managed to pick himself up from a place of not even being able to be heroic for himself or confident for himself and inspire himself, and now where we are in the story, he's able to do all those things for other people. That's how far he's come as a character, which is really, really cool. It's part of why I really love seeing Yuda as a character get some shine finally. Now, also, the cockroach that Yuda takes out, supposedly it's one of the strongest spirits Kenjaku has. This really doesn't mean too much. They're spirits at the end of the day. The cursed users and the sorcerers, they outscale the curses for the most part, realistically. So this doesn't mean very much. However, we see that Yuda is fighting the Sky Girl right now. And her abilities are so weird and crazy. I'm probably gonna have to get with one of the other big brains on JJK, and we're gonna probably dissect that and see exactly what that is and what kind of scaling it is. But he's doing fine, and he's getting double teamed by her and the quote unquote hot shot with the highest cursed energy output in the Culling Games. Which, I mean, whatever. These statements are getting thrown around left and right. Whatever. He's very powerful, and he shoots cursed energy really, really strong. That's pretty much all we've got with him. But Yuda's fine. He's 2v1ing them. He's absolutely gonna win. And yeah, Yuda's getting tons of shine. So, and then just for everybody thinking that these two scale to him, let's not forget he's been soloing like strong spirits, strong, previous sorcerers and cursed users by himself this entire time. Not only is he injured, not only is he fatigued, he's basically coming into this 2v1 fight with no knowledge and no prep time while nerfed. And then on top of that, these two, Sky Girl and Hotshot, they have knowledge. They know that he has reverse curse technique. They know, they have some idea of his physicality. So they're coming in with knowledge and prep at full strength with a nerfed no knowledge Yuda. So let's not go crazy with the scaling on this one. Now I am concerned. One last thing on Yuda. I have this horrible feeling that one of our main protagonists, one of our heroes is gonna die soon in this arc probably. And I'm scared it's gonna be Yuda because he's getting all this crazy shine. We're getting to see him be badass, put that power on display, and he's got the character development. His character has more or less come full circle. I'm scared that it's going to be Yuda, but I actually don't think that it's going to be Yuda that dies. I think he's going to get hurt, and I think he's going to get taken out of the equation because he kind of lowers the stakes because of how powerful he is. But I don't think he's going to die. I am worried about it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Now, as far as Yuji, I mean, he's been more or less relegated to like a side character for the most part. And this is kind of good for the Culling Games because we've seen a lot of Yuji. I mean, there's other interesting characters, and you know, this whole thing could probably run on like Megami or Yuda by themselves, and it could be a story about them. There's other characters we haven't even seen yet that would, you know, make super interesting like stories on their own, just, you know, doing their own thing in this. And then realistically, I don't think Sukuna is going to be. I don't think he's going to be unleashed super early in this arc. And then when he is later on, I think we're going to get Sukuna versus Yuda. And I think that's what's going to take Yuda out of the Culling Games. And part of the reason I say that is because they've sort of alluded to it a few times. And here's the big thing, is that everybody wants Sukuna versus Gojo. The author knows this. And if Sukuna fights Yuda, the person who's second only to Gojo, right below him, obviously Sukuna's going to win, and we're even more hyped up. We get to start thinking, oh, wait, is Sukuna on that Gojo level? Is this, oh god, when that fight happens, it's going to be so hyped. And then when that fight does happen, obviously we're even more hyped for it, no matter how it goes. So, I think that's what we're actually going to end up seeing. Now, as far as like Yuji, I mean, he doesn't need like any of this other shine with like his abilities or anything like that. We already know that he's crazy physically. You know, it's cool to see anyway, like his fight with the judge, but it's whatever. I mean, it doesn't do any crazy scaling for him. We're not seeing too much development out of him. It doesn't really matter. Like, as far as Yuji, it's probably good that he's a side character right now. One thing that is notable is that he is confident he can control Sukuna now, even if he were to get the other 5 fingers. However, Kenjaku is in play. And there's other cursed users and sorcerers that want to see Sukuna, and realistically speaking, Kenjaku and Sukuna are both confident that he's going to get free at some point. So the fact of the matter is, when you have 2 people like that who are, you know, scheming on you, no, I don't think you should be that confident. I think Yuji's kind of capping for himself a little bit. I'm just saying. Now, as far as the rest of this goes, I mean, one thing I do want to touch on, since we're talking about the Culling Games anyway, Kenjaku's plans have been alluded to a little bit. Now, he's obviously a wild card, as he always is. We don't know the full extent of whatever he's going to do, even as he's explaining it to us. One thing that was interesting is that one of the participants in the Culling Games brings up the likelihood that Kenjaku is going to drop some sort of bomb on the game once most of the weaker players are eliminated. Now, as to what this is, it could actually be, you know, it could be a number of things that we'll get into in a minute, but let's kind of look at what Kenjaku's doing to plan for this bomb. Number one, he's playing foreign affairs, and he's talking to what appears to be political leaders from other countries, you know, right from the very start of this Culling Game thing. Right after he gets all the people he likes away from the area, he seems to go and talk to I think it was the leader of China that he first speaks to. And then, you know, he wants, like we went over earlier, Kenjaku wants Sukuna revived, right? But we don't know when and how he intends to do this. But it doesn't make sense to awaken Sukuna until either the end of the Culling Games or after, as he would pretty much just kill all of his own prospects for advancing sorcery. And for those that don't remember, during the end of the Shibuya incident, Kenjaku explains that he wants Sukuna revived so that he can advance Jujutsu sorcery back to another golden age, and he wants to do that by unleashing the strongest, most ridiculous, like, cursed spirits and force everybody to get stronger to fight them, like they did with Sukuna, right? And if he were to just release Sukuna, right, like on all these players all at once, he's probably just going to kill all of them. Especially if you can get Sukuna fully revived with his full power, No, 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 no. This is a horrible idea. He would likely destroy all of his prospects for doing this, and then likely lose to Sukuna. We don't really know what Sukuna's power is, but it's sort of implied that he gets stronger as time goes on. Whether this be because he just has some passive ability to do this, whether he, gets stronger when he kills and eats people, as he's confirmed to be a cannibal for whatever reason, it would probably not go well for Kenjaku. So Kenjaku's probably not going to release him until, again, end of Culling Games, or right afterwards, when he has something he needs to control Sukuna. And I think that's going to be a big part of this, or defend himself at the very least. And if it's not Sukuna, I think the bomb, quote-unquote, that Kenjaku is going to drop is basically fear-mongering other countries into a war with Japan. And the main center of curses, and that's something a lot of people don't remember about JJK, is that most of the cursed spirits and cursed users and Jujutsu sorcerers in the world are in Japan, right? What Kenjaku, I think, is doing is revealing that to the rest of the world leaders and baiting them into going to war with that country to stop the cursed spirits, especially because he just unleashed 10 million of them. He's going to go there and say, oh yeah, here's what these cursed spirits can do. By the way, there's 10 million of them on that little island. Y'all should probably do something about that. Right? So I think that's really what he's doing. I think that's why they went to the trouble of showing that he's talking to these world leaders. And again, he's creating that chaos he talked about in the Shibuya arc. And that's just, I think that's where we land with what Kenjaku's playing with the Culling Games. I think that's where it ends. I think it ends basically with Kenjaku having the rest of the world trying to, go to war. You have pretty much, you have Sukuna being dropped. You have the 10 million cursed spirits that he released. He has the chaos that he wanted. On top of everything that's going on in the Culling Games, you have the chaos that Kenjaku wanted. Now, as far as how likely it is that Gojo gets released, well, we're going to talk about that in a different video. But that has been alluded to. I think there were some leaks about Gojo getting released pretty soon, so we're gonna go over that in a different video. But yeah, all that being said, guys. Oh, before I go. So I've been doing the Twitch streaming just so I can give you guys, a little bit, more ways to hang out with me, kind of talk to me directly, that kind of deal. I'm gonna leave a link to that in my description. If you guys, wanna keep up with me on that, I'm gonna keep up with a schedule for you guys. I'm gonna give you ideas what days I'm gonna upload, what days I'm gonna stream, and of course my Discord's always open as well. My Patreon Discord. Feel free to hit me up on any of these. I try to be as open and available for everyone as possible. But yeah, all that being said, guys, be safe. Take it easy.